we saw our opportunities opened rates increase dramatically. We saw the number of closed won opportunities from inbound leads increase dramatically.
In our 2021 benchmark report, it showed that on average, 43% of marketers believe that salespeople regularly waste leads. Why do you feel that this perception exists, and is it correct?
Oh, it's 100% correct. And I think that too often good notes are taken, good conversations are taking place, and ported back to sales, shared with sales, and ideally, follow up on that. Conversations with between marketing and sales are happening, but then it gets dropped. Maybe it gets disqualified for whatever reason. But we think they're solid leads. We think there's opportunity to grow those and nurture them, and they get ignored. That's been my experience.
Why is sales dropping the ball?
I think it's easy to pick an event or to pick a one-off circumstance as a reason. But I can tell you that the number one asset of any sales team, any seller, right? The majority of the people on this call can relate to it, is time, right? And as we are going at rapid speed to set records, chase revenue numbers, and do all these impossible, amazing things.
And lots of golf.
Lots of golf.
Right. You have to suss out, do you give up that round of 18 to follow through on some of these that may not necessarily be bread and butter?
I think we're already going to win this round. I'm just saying.
So yes, I think really what it boils down to on the sales side is just the prioritization and figuring out, how much you can chase, a bandwidth issue, and being able to cover enough ground. So yes, I do think this is one, again, that sales and marketing, when they come together, can actually do a much better job as a team as opposed to one or the other kind of saddling the whole thing.
Appreciate the honest feedback. The benchmark also showed not just letting leads, fall off the vine, but looking at things from a timing perspective. The benchmark report also showed that 80% of companies don't consistently contact a prospect within 25 minutes of a form fill or an inquiry. What's preventing that? And what's preventing companies from hitting that mark?
Oh, also, this is a timely question for us. I think we've actually seen this challenge firsthand and struggled with it, right? I think a lot of companies start out as more of a manual process, and aside from the obvious of getting the definitions and the common language in place with marketing, which is crucial, it's about putting it on paper and building a process after that, right? You could define and agree on common language till you're blue in the face, but until you can figure out a way to build a process and execute that at scale, you're cutting yourself short, right? We've spent a lot of time on we had this issue, like I said, when we reorged, and we brought in different layers of sales teams to where we needed to focus on getting leads, the speed of the leads to a follow-up process, to a discovery call, all that stuff, which required a lot of technology and workflows and processes, and utilizing role hierarchies and account segmentations. And if this lead comes in, look at this to segment to this person, to this industry, to this this team. So it's a lot of proper execution after building these processes that can automate, right? You can't scale this process and follow up efficiently in that time span of 1 to 2 minutes, unless one, you're in agreement with marketing and sales on what defines a lead and what that process is going to look like, but then actually leveraging the technology and the resources to build that process.
Who should own lead follow-up? Should it be sales or marketing?
I think it should be marketing. I think marketing, we're the group that brings these leads in. We understand the messages that we're sending out into the ether and that we're highly targeting some individuals with. And I think that having a dedicated person on the marketing team, we refer to them as the lead development representative, or LDR, having that person sit in the marketing organization and own the immediate follow-up of those inbound leads is key. Because all of those processes that Eric was just walking through, it's a lot to do. And it's a lot of work to get marketing operations and sales operations and the demand gen teams to align on how do we code routing? How do we code the process of qualifying or unqualifying? How do we speed this up? And something that's worked for us in the past as we've worked to scale into those more calculated processes, more automated processes, is having that lead development representative, somebody who's highly trained on the ideal customer profile, the ideal personas, can quickly utilize some of the same sales tools that the sales team is using to investigate inbound leads the moment they come in and manage the immediate follow-up. The moment we moved away from reaching out to leads within an hour to instead within 10 minutes, we saw our opportunities opened rates increase dramatically. We saw the number of closed won opportunities from inbound leads increase dramatically. It was that as soon as possible outreach from that LDR person that really made that change.
Lead development rep. Is that a thing here, or is marketing just kind of making stuff up as we go?
No, I think they're ahead of the curve. The ones who are getting ahead of it, breaking out the functions of inbound versus outbound, right, are able to, one, have a lot more predictability on both sides of the house, a lot more scalability, and can really just build a system. And going back to the processes and technology that we've been talking about, you can build it out a lot easier when you know that you're siloed and what each one is responsible for. The over under on this, where we've talked about communication, right, is already got to be getting pretty high. It's hard enough just to do what we do as a group with a unified approach, let alone when we may not be exactly unified in what message was sent out, right? How was the targeting done? What should be the talk track once that lead does come in? And I think too, is just the overall ask of an outbound versus an inbound prospect is going to be completely different. So if you're relying on a sales team to go ahead and hit their goals, one, they're going to go ahead and focus on whichever is the easier of the two, right? And find the path of least resistance. So I think as you can go ahead and better train, better utilize, better tool stack, and even better coach, you're going to have, like I said, a lot better predictability and just better scalability over your whole growth org.
Really resonated there with a lot of that. Taking this one to the judges, this round scored to the marketing team. Why does this one sit with marketing? And I think it's really both twofold, right? Sellers as a whole, I can tell you have assumptions, and those assumptions are usually the path of least resistance. And as a sales leader, for the sales leaders on the call, you have to push your team through those assumptions to make sure that no rock goes uncovered, right? Because there's a lot of quality sitting in all different types of leads. While some might not be quote unquote ready to buy within the next 3 seconds, there's a ton of value that can be had out of every engagement with every customer you have. And I really loved the lead development concept, right? I think it's where a lot of sales and marketing teams miss completely. Sales development is an outbound function. Lead development is inbound. They're very different skill sets. They should have different targets. They should have different goals. They should have different KPIs, right? And really focusing on that can really dramatically change your lead conversion numbers by making sure that people are laser focused there. So kudos to marketing for the win that round, and a lot of really, really great value and insight.